Hello, thank you for being in a new video. This time we have an unboxing of the newly introduced HONOR X8b. Let's get started. This device is part of HONOR's mid-range because it is part of the HONOR X series. The launch price of this device is 7,999 pesos. On the screen you see the reference price in dollars, so you have more or less an idea if you are not from Mexico. But remember that the prices here are not the same as there. They also include a free HONOR Band 7, screen insurance, and an extended warranty for 1 year. So I think the promotion is attractive. But let's find out what's inside. And as you realize, here we have the mobile device that looks with a very similar design to the last generation. Although it seems to me that in this generation I see a finish with a little more projected colors. The design looks like it will remain very similar on the back cover, but on the front we will see some differences that I will show you in a moment. But first, let me show you what's in the box. As you notice, first we find this key that is going to serve us to extract the tray, and it is also going to have here included the case that is totally transparent and totally flexible. Nothing extraordinary, but it is always appreciated that they include this type of accessories so you don't have to buy them separately. And finally, let's take a look at the charger and cable. Well, the charger is quite curious because it is a 35-watt HONOR Supercharge. As far as I remember, I had not seen a 35-watt charger from HONOR or other manufacturers, so it will be interesting to put it to the test in a separate content. On this side, it comes with USB-A, and obviously on the other side, the cable will have USB-C on it. It's a cable that doesn't look that thick, but obviously it's recommended to use the original cable if you want the most charging power. So this is what we have included in the box. Let's put all of this away and take a look at the cell phone. But before we do, I almost forgot that here's something else. Just take a look at this. They do include headphones, surprisingly, but just like last generation, notice how it's a headphone that would need the jack, but this device doesn't include a jack. So it's a little strange, but they also include the adapter. You have to take good care of this adapter because you're probably going to lose it. So I insist that the box comes well equipped, case, headphones and adapter. I think it's a totally positive thing. Finally, I'm going to put all this stuff away and we'll take a look at the cell phone. I'm going to set it up and get back to you when this device is already on. And that's it. We've got the device set up and we immediately notice one of its main new features, which is this magic capsule. So you have decided to name it HONOR. Yes, there is specialized software. That is, it is not only a simple screen cutout, but they have also added through software some options that we will see in the review, how we can take advantage of them. But what do you say you join me to know its specifications? It is ultra thin at 6.78 millimeters thick. It is also very light, weighing only 166 grams. In that sense, you should know that there is an evolution with respect to the last generation. This is the HONOR X8a, that is last year's model. And besides the difference in the position of the flash on the cameras, yes, there is a difference in the cover. And I insist that it's now a little bit thinner and a little bit lighter. The screen is 6.7 inches in its diagonal with AMOLED technology. This was something that was totally necessary because in the last generation the screen was just IPS, very plain honestly. So in this generation the colors look much more intense. We have more contrast, better viewing angles. It's definitely a screen that goes way up a level compared to the last generation. In fact, it is a 90 Hz screen in its refresh rate. That is to say, the movements will be able to show them with enough fluidity, especially talking about the system animations, although it could also be used in some games. However, this device does not have such a powerful processor. Its resolution is Full HD Plus and it comes with a cutout called Magic Capsule. Here will be placed the new 50 megapixel camera with f-aperture Dawn.1. And that's another point of evolution because the last generation had 16 megapixel camera. Also, it's a pretty wide camera. Notice it has its 1x setting and also 0.8x. Before taking the picture, it still doesn't have a very well optimized preview. But after taking the picture, it looks good in the balance of highlights and shadows. Although the shadow area seems to have a little less contrast than I would like. But it's getting a little bit picky. Though obviously in the review we'll do a more detailed analysis, also taking into account the price. Because I think at this price we can already demand a pretty decent camera. And in this case I think it could be close. In automatic mode, selfies are 12 megapixels, but they still look with a good level of detail. If you want to take a high-resolution selfie, you have to go to the high-resolution mode. And in this case, we can get much closer to try to see the smallest details of your picture. I think the result is positive. On the back, we have 108 megapixel main camera with f1.75 aperture, then an ultra-wide angle camera that also detects depth of 5 megapixels with f2.2 aperture, and finally a 2 megapixel macro camera with f2.4 aperture. Taking last generation as a reference, we would be seeing an evolution in the main sensor, going from 100 to 108 megapixels. Also, this 100 megapixel sensor honestly hadn't really appealed to me, and having tested this new sensor, it seems to have a lot more detail. Here you're looking at a picture with the main camera. I think the colors are quite vivid. The picture looks good. In first impressions, we could say that this is a camera that is going to deliver with good quality. This would be the ultra-wide camera that also has good colors, good quality, although we can see that it is of a much lower resolution. It is only 5 megapixels, when in the price range you will most likely find ultra-wide cameras with higher resolution. So we do not have such a high level of detail, but at least we do have a wider range. The device on the camera has a 2x zoom setting available, implying that it maintains good quality at this setting. And it seems that yes, we do have a practically 2x zoom optical quality pictures, so it would be considerably good in this regard. However, the maximum zoom is 8x. And it seems that here you have a little bit more complications to take a well-balanced photo in terms of colors and highlights. In fact, from the 2x picture, it feels like the device struggles a bit, but in the full review we will do a more detailed analysis of the camera, because for now it is simply a very brief initial look. But notice how here is the photograph with the 108 megapixel sensor, and it really does look like a detailed photograph. What you should notice is that it takes a little while for the full resolution view to load. Immediately after zooming in, it looks a little blurry, but it gets clearer as time goes on. So, there it shows us that the processor is not the most powerful thing that the device has. But the 108 megapixel camera does get pretty good use out of it, to notice all these minute details in your photos. So, the camera I think is fine. We'll see how it competes against some other devices. Its video recording capability remains at full HD. In this aspect, I think it could become stagnant, and this is probably due again to the processor, which is not very modern, although it is not something extremely common that devices of this price can record in 4K, but there are some that already give you those options. The battery is 4500 milliamps. That is, it is exactly the same as the last generation. But remember that in this case we are talking about a thinner and lighter device. And so it comes to highlight that while maintaining the same battery capacity, they have managed to make the device much more compact. It supports 35 watts load, which we'll test in a subsequent video as I informed you. It comes with Android 13 and Magic OS 7.2. In this new version of the operating system, we have a new control center. I honestly would have liked it to arrive with Android 14, since it is a newly introduced device. So out of the box, it doesn't come updated, and it's probably going to be the only update it's going to get, so it's going to be out of date very soon. But possibly its strongest appeal is the storage, because it has 512 gigabytes. This capacity really is extremely rare to see in a device at this price point. You're going to be able to store a lot of music, lots of pictures, videos, movies, series, absolutely anything you want, and the device is not really going to fill up easily. In this aspect, we could say that it is unique, since most of its best competitors will incorporate 256 gigabytes. But this one is going to double that capacity. That in itself was already very good. But to have 512 is spectacular, something that is usually reserved only for the most premium devices on the market. It also integrates 8 gigabytes of RAM, plus another 8 virtual ones from HONOR RAM Turbo. And honestly, I already tested this virtual memory of HONOR, and it is much better than the virtual RAM of other manufacturers. So if this is to be considered as another very attractive point, the RAM memory can certainly help the performance to be superior to what we are expecting. And finally, the processor is the Snapdragon 680. That's why I'm telling you that maybe the RAM can get to help a little bit, because the processor really is curious that it's the same one that HONOR used 2 generations ago when they introduced the HONOR X8. Remember that subsequent to the HONOR X8, they introduced the HONOR X8a with a Helio G88 processor, which was also not very attractive to say the least. And now in this new generation, they repeat the processor from 2 generations ago. Possibly this is its most criticized point, because it would need a major evolution in that aspect. Still, it is not a totally bad processor. But definitely for this price range, you will find much more powerful processors in some other competitors. In this case, unfortunately, it was not allowed to install the benchmark we always run. But I think we already know that this processor usually gives us a performance of a mid-range or entry mid-range device. To give you an idea, this processor could be present in devices that cost half as much as this one. Although obviously here we have the advantage of excellent storage, 108 megapixels, a rather nice design and some other things, but definitely that processor is not the most attractive thing. So for the moment, we've come to the end of this video. It's just the unboxing and my first impressions. Remember that we'll have the full review available soon. As for now, it's been pretty much a quick look. I hope you liked this video. If you did, you know you can tell us, and we'll see you next time.